Tonight we begin with a development that US military commanders, regional security analysts, and allied intelligence agencies had feared, anticipated, and war-gamed for months. A naval confrontation that unfolded not over days or weeks, but in 72 hours. 72 hours that brought the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group within 12 nautical miles of Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps naval positions. 72 hours that saw Iran mobilize its most advanced anti-ship missile batteries to coastal positions overlooking the Strait of Hormuz. 72 hours that transformed a regional military operation into what Pentagon officials are now calling the most dangerous naval standoff in the Persian Gulf since 1988. What Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps did today crossed a line that the United States had hoped would hold, and when that line broke, the US Fifth Fleet did not hesitate. They responded with precision, overwhelming force, and unmistakable intent. For 11 days now, there had been signals, not from official Iranian government channels, not from formal diplomatic communications, just scattered intelligence intercepts and troop movements, that Iran's Supreme National Security Council was preparing something strategically significant. Iran has been aggressive, yes, but they have been calculated in their aggression. Their moves have followed a certain rhythm, a predictability, almost a doctrine. But what set off alarm bells in US Central Command this Tuesday morning was that the rhythm went silent. Intelligence analysts who monitor Iranian naval communications know the indicators. The daily patrol boat rotations through 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗎 Island, the encrypted burst transmissions between IRGC Navy headquarters and forward positions, the routine resupply missions to 𝗕𝗥𝗚 Island naval facilities, the sudden activation of mobile radar systems along the Makran coast, all of that went quiet. And whenever Iran's Revolutionary Guard goes quiet, it means something is about to get loud. For the past 13 days, since the initial US airstrikes on Iranian nuclear enrichment facilities at Natanz and Fordo, Iran's response had followed what military strategists call asymmetric escalation management. They hit allied targets in Iraq. They launched missile attacks on Saudi oil infrastructure. They activated Hezbollah cells in Lebanon. They increased cyber operations against US financial institutions. But they had avoided direct military confrontation with American naval forces in the Persian Gulf until today. Early Tuesday morning, US Navy P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft detected what they described as a coordinated repositioning of Iranian fast attack craft, including at least 17 𝗕𝗥𝗚-class midget submarines that had not been deployed operationally in over 3 years. These are the kinds of assets that Iran only positions forward when they are signaling something very specific: preparation for a coordinated swarm attack, establishment of a naval exclusion zone, or direct retaliation for perceived strategic losses. Pentagon observers didn't know which category this fell into, or whether it fell into all three at once. But what they did know was that Iran was changing its naval posture. And when a regional military power shifts its naval posture without explanation, even by 10 nautical miles, US Central Command pays attention. What made this morning's movements particularly alarming was the sheer coordination involved. This wasn't the standard Revolutionary Guard Navy bravado. Fast boats racing toward US vessels only to veer off at the last moment. This was methodical. This was rehearsed. This was operationally sophisticated. Within a 6-hour window, Iranian forces moved 3 kilo Class diesel-electric submarines from Bandar Abbas Naval Base to forward patrol positions, activated coastal defense, cruise missile batteries near Jas and Chabahar, deployed mobile 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗺 air defense systems to protect naval concentration areas, positioned mine, laying vessels near key shipping channels in the Strait of Hormuz. US Fifth Fleet Commander Vice Admiral Samuel Paparo, operating from headquarters in Bahrain, described the Iranian movements as the most significant repositioning of Iranian naval and coastal defense forces we have observed since the beginning of hostilities. What Iran appeared to be constructing was a layered anti-access area denial envelope, a bubble of overlapping threats designed to push US naval forces out of the central Persian Gulf. And they were doing it at a time when the USS 𝗕𝗏𝗂𝗚 Lincoln Carrier Strike Group was operating less than 90 miles from Iranian territorial waters. The warning issued by US Central Command tonight was not normal. It was not routine. It was not symbolic. It was urgent. Senior defense officials after emergency National Security Council meetings described Iran's naval buildup as provocative, destabilizing, and perhaps most importantly, operationally capable of inflicting significant damage on US naval assets if executed properly, but intimidation only works if the target hesitates. The United States did not. In fact, their response today was among the most forceful and comprehensive we've seen in the entire 13-day conflict. Here's what we know. Within 4 hours of detecting the Iranian submarine movements, the US Navy repositioned 2 guided missile destroyers, the USS Porter and USS the Sullivans, into blocking positions between Iranian naval concentrations and the Abraham Lincoln Strike Group. These weren't the standard 𝗕𝗏𝗪𝗚 class destroyers on routine patrol. These were vessels equipped with advanced escalate anti-submarine warfare systems, SM-6 mission missiles, and Mk-54 lightweight torpedoes, systems that the US Navy only deploys when they are preparing to engage in high-intensity naval combat. But the destroyers were just the visible element. What happened beneath the surface was even more significant. According to sources with direct knowledge of US submarine operations, at least 2 Virginia-class fast attack submarines, likely the USS Illinois and USS Washington, were redirected from positions in the Arabian Sea to waters directly adjacent to Iranian submarine patrol areas. These submarines, among the most advanced in the world, are designed for one primary mission in this context: hunting other submarines, and tonight they are hunting. The US also activated what naval aviation experts call the outer defense perimeter, a continuous rotation of 𝗧𝗿𝗂𝗎 Super Hornets from the Abraham Lincoln, each loaded with AGM-84 Harpoon anti-ship missiles and AGM-88 𝗕𝗏𝗚𝗚 anti-radiation missiles designed to destroy Iranian coastal radar systems. The message was unmistakable. If you threaten our carriers, we will eliminate every system you use to target them. Tonight, Pentagon officials confirmed that US naval and air forces launched a coordinated suppression campaign on Iranian coastal defense networks, including the early warning radar installation on Abu Musa Island that had recently been upgraded with Russian-made 𝗕𝗏𝗪 radar systems for what analysts believe was enhanced detection of low-flying cruise missiles and stealth aircraft. The United States struck before Iran could activate a coordinated defensive envelope. They hit the 𝗕𝗏𝗪 radar installation on Abu Musa Island with precision-guided munitions. They hit communications relay stations on Qeshm Island that linked coastal missile batteries to Central Command. They hit mobile command posts that were likely preparing to coordinate the 𝗕𝗏𝗪-class submarine deployments. In other words, the US targeted Iran's naval command and control architecture, the infrastructure that would have made a coordinated anti-ship missile barrage operational. This is what made the Pentagon's warning so urgent. Iran's naval repositioning wasn't just symbolic, it was actionable. It represented the kind of move that could result in the sinking of American vessels or the closure of the Strait of Hormuz if left unchecked, and the United States understanding that fully responded with force, not recklessly, not impulsively, but strategically. They didn't hit Iranian cities, they didn't strike Iranian oil terminals. They hit the radar systems that would detect incoming US aircraft. They hit the communications nodes that would coordinate Iranian naval attacks. This is what military strategists call setting the conditions, degrading your adversary's ability to execute their planned operation before they can launch it. According to intelligence assessments now circulating in Washington, the Iranian plan appears to have been a multi-stage operation. Stage 1. Position submarines and fast attack craft in dispersed locations throughout the Central Gulf. Stage 2. Activate coastal anti-ship missile batteries to create overlapping threat zones. Stage 3. Provoke or wait for a US response. Stage 4. Launch coordinated swarm attacks using dozens of fast boats, anti-ship cruise missiles, and submarine launched torpedoes simultaneously, the goal was not necessarily to sink an aircraft carrier, though that would have been the ultimate prize, but to damage enough US vessels that continued operations in the Persian Gulf would become politically and militarily untenable. Iran wanted to impose costs so high that the United States would be forced to operate from positions outside the Gulf, reducing responsiveness and weakening the credibility of American security commitments to regional allies. But tonight's US strikes disrupted that timeline. By destroying the radar and communications infrastructure before Iran could activate the full system, the US effectively blinded the Iranian coastal defense network. Iranian missile batteries can still fire, Iranian submarines can still operate, Iranian fast attack craft can still swarm. But without centralized targeting data and coordinated battle management, they would be operating nearly blind, vastly reducing their effectiveness and increasing their vulnerability.